for today, we are going to have an analysis. Okay? Analysis of the developmental and sociocultural dimensions of learning. Okay, nabanggit natin last time sa theories of learning, isa doon is about the social factor influencing learning, di ba? We have social constructivism. Ayan, it's in relation with that. Relate social interactions and interpersonal relations and communication in the learning process. So how are these three elements important in the learning process? Next, to relate the dimensions of learning in selecting effective strategies and methodologies, of course, because we are in the teaching field and you are aspiring teachers, and to relate the aforementioned topics to their pedagogical implications. So pedagogical, that relates to teaching. So again, our topic has something to do with the dimensions of learner-centered learning, okay? Now, for this general topic, I use the following references. And for this day, we are going to discuss topic number 1 and topic number 2. We are now on the chapter 2 of our course, okay? So topic number 3 and number 4 will be discussed next week. But for our first two topics, we are going to have the developmental and social-cultural dimensions of learning, under which we are going to define some terms. We are going to discuss about social-constructivist view of learning in a deeper way. Kasi may overview lang yung una nating ginawa last time. And of course, another theory in relation to social dimensions of learning is the situated learning theory. So we'll discuss this one by one later. For topic number 2, which is part of our session today, it is entitled Social Interactions, Interpersonal Relations, and Communication in the Learning Process. Just use a small letter I and small letter T for in the, okay, correction on that slide. And of course, we're going to define terms and to discuss about the school classroom as a social entity. So how are we going to make our class focusing or an imitation of the society in which your learners could socialize? Because socialization, okay, the social factors based on what we have discussed last week or last time is very relevant when it comes to learning. Meron yung view doon na ang learning nangyayari because of some interactions, the way we construct knowledge, the way we understand the environment. Okay, when we talk to people, we learn. That's the point of this session. Okay, let's have the first topic. Let us define the following terms. First, context. When I say context, it means surroundings, circumstances, conditions, or environment. Example, in this type of learning in which we are in, the context is we are in online learning. We are meeting virtually. You have your phones, I have my laptop. Okay, so this is distant learning. That's the context. That's the condition. Okay, nasa bahay nyo kayo, nasa bahay nyo ako. We are in different places, learning together in this virtual meeting. That's what we mean by context. In a regular classroom, okay, context would refer to the classroom, the class itself, in which learners are gathered together with the teacher. Okay, so that's what we mean by the context, the setting. When you say community of practice, it means, eto na-discuss na rin last time, di ba? Situated learning theory in relation to community of practice. It refers to a group of people who share common interests and who adhere to the same standards. So just like those people in the same community. At pag sinabi natin community, we're not just referring to a barangay or barrio, no? Okay, a faculty room could be a community, a school could be a community, a bank could be a community. Okay, so these are people in the bank working together, having the same nature of work, though they have different job descriptions, but still, in terms of practice, they are on the same line, okay? So that's what we mean. They have common interest in that's banking, okay? Like in here, kung community of practice, a faculty room, of course, we are all teachers in a faculty room, so we have the same interests when it comes to teaching, when it comes to curriculum, and we adhere to the same standards. So that's what we mean by community of practice. Next is authenticity. Syempre, in your dictionary, you would know authenticity is genuine. But here, we are going to define authenticity as closeness or resemblance to real life situation. Like when you give examples, since this is about social interaction, when you give activities, dapat daw, it should be close to reality that makes your examples, your materials authentic. Okay? For instance, if I'll be teaching English, how will I use authentic materials? Instead of reading from the books, from the reference book, kasi reference book yan, no? It's made by the school. To introduce something authentic, a material which is authentic, I will make them read a newspaper, okay, na ginagamit sa nationwide. Those which are nationally, regionally, or even provincially distributed. So that's what we mean by authentic. Like for science, so tuturo ka ng science, you use materials which are real. Okay, like for fruits, kung ang pinag-usapan natin ay different kinds of taste, magdala ka ng objects na totoo, hindi lang yung picture. Kasi pag picture lang siya, it's not authentic. Okay? So next is scaffolding. This refers to support of an expert. Next, we have culture. This refers to the characteristics of an individual or society. We have, of course, social constructivism in relation to our topic. This is very relevant. It emphasizes social context of learning in which knowledge is mutually built. That we construct, it's a theory, it's a belief, okay? It's a theory which stands on the belief that learning takes place when a person, a human, interacts with the environment, with people, okay? We construct knowledge based on our exposure to the society. That's why we call it social constructivism, if you could still remember. Okay, let's now have the sociocultural theory of learning by Lev Degotsky, a very prominent, okay, authority or an expert when it comes to theories about learning. Pero ang stand ni Lev Vygotsky is that it's not cognitive. Learning is in relation to socio-cultural factor. So more on siya din sa external environment. So what's the point of Lev Vygotsky? It says here, according to Lev Vygotsky, some cognitive processes are seen in a variety of species, but some are unique to human beings. Ayan. Kinontra niya yung cognitivism. If you can still remember, we have the theory about cognitivism, di ba? That learning takes place in the mind. It's structured in the mind. Okay? We make a visual presentation of our learning in our mind. Pero ang point nila, Vygotsky, some cognitive processes are seen in a variety of species. Iba-iba daw tayo, the way we think. But some are unique to human beings. It's because Lev Vygotsky is pointing out that we are exposed to different environment. Okay, though we have the same cognitive, let's say for instance, cognitive gift, okay, pare-pareho tayo. How come that we are different when it comes to level of thinking? How come that we are different when it comes to the way we manifest our learning? It's because it's unique to human beings, okay, for the reason that we are exposed to different environments. Okay, it says here, children learn from adults the kind behavior they are expected to exhibit within their own culture. So that's the point of Lev Vygotsky. O, totoo naman kasi mga bata, sino ba ang ginagaya nila? Eh di matatanda. Okay? Katulad ng isang bata, paano siya natutong magsalita? Narinig niya sa matanda. That's social. Okay? Learning from the adult, from the older one. That's the point, again, of Lev Vygotsky. So we learn through social factors. Katulad ng language na lang, that's a very good example. We'll learn language based on what we hear from other people. Na kapag ang bata kahit Pinoy yan, kapag lumaki sa ibang bansa, yung lengguwahe na naririnig niya sa bansa na yun, yun ang matututunan niya. So that's true. Okay? May point sa Lev Vygotsky doon. Another, culture also passes along physical and cognitive tools. Okay? So it means we are the ones who determine the type of culture that we are in. It's already established by the way we think, by the way we interact with people. Kumbaga tayo nagbabago sa kultura. Okay? Tayo yung nagbibigay ng meaning into our culture. Okay? It's along physical and cognitive tools. It's the way we comprehend, okay, on what we see, what we experience in our environment. Okay, more on the sociocultural theory of learning by Lev Vygotsky. It says here, thought and language become increasingly interdependent the first few years of life. What do we mean by interdependent in the first few years of life? So let's have Miss Delphine. Miss Delphine, what's your view or understanding of this clause? Thought and language become increasingly interdependent in the first few years of life. Yes, Miss Delphine? Nandiyan ba si Miss Delphine? Absent? Miss Delphine? Okay, please save Miss Delphine, Miss Mercado. Kristen.
Ayun po, para po sa akin, sir, yung pong pag first few years of life po, parang ikaw na, paano ko po ba i-explain?
When I say thought, it's the way we think, okay? When I say language, it's the language we use. O yung pag-iisip daw natin at yung language na ginagamit natin, they are interdependent. They rely on each other. So of course, you will agree. Can you give an example for this? Or can you expound more on this, Kristen? Nabigla ka ba, Kristen? Dahil tinawag kita.
Wait lang po.
Kakarog na rin kaklase mo, Kristen, kasi pag may sagot yan, ipasa kaya kang Vincent Baila.
Ipasa mo na po, sir. Ito lang.
Oh, Kristen. Okay. So when you say thought and language become increasingly interdependent, it means that they rely on each other, like the way we think. Okay? Pansinin nyo, our language or the way we manifest our thinking is, of course, we use language. Okay? At merong mga konsepto sa lengguwahe natin, for example, in Filipino, o Kapampangan nam, there are concepts in other language na wala sa lengguwahe natin. Ang hirap na hirap tayong i-express. Okay? Like it's not present, it's present in English pero wala siya sa Filipino o sa Kapampangan. So it's hard for us to express it na yung konsepto is English, but you are going to express it using Kapampangan or Filipino. It's hard. Hindi mo, nasa nulo ng dila mo, you know the concept, but you don't know the words to use because you are using a language na wala yung konsepto na yon. Okay? For instance, ano ba ang konsepto sa English na wala sa Filipino? Ano nga ba ang Tagalog ng cake? Miss Kabansag, what's the Filipino or Kapampangan term for cake? No, nag-isip ka, di ba, Miss Kabansag? Kasi wala siya. Yeah? Kahit isang oras pa tayo mag-isip dito, walang Filipino term ang cake. Walang Kapampangan term ang cake. Kasi, in our language, wala namang cake. Tinapay lang ang uso sa atin before. Ang sa mga ninuno natin. Ang nagpauso dyan is from the other country. That's why they have the concept of cake. Kaya tingnan nyo ang Pinoy. In their language, pag nakakita sila ng tinapay, ang tawag lang nila tinapay. Yun ang konsepto natin. Kahit pandesal yan, kahit monay pa yan, kahit yung nabibili pa sa bakery na datampakado na croissant, tinapay ang tawag natin dyan. Isa lang, kahit ano pang uri ng tinapay. But if you would go to other country, iba-ibang tawag nila. Croissant, meron pa silang cinnamon roll. Okay? They have the specifics because they have that concept in their language. Pero sa atin, ang thought natin dyan, basta ganun ang itsura, tinapay ang tawag natin. So thought and language become increasingly interdependent. So the way we think, the way we assess things is dependent on our language. The same way that language is dependent on our thought. Paano naman nangyayari yon? You have the thought na isip mo pero wala pa siyang term or phrase to express that thought, gagawa ka ngayon, magko-coin ka ng word. Kaya nga nauuso yung mga salita na iniimbento just to represent that idea. Okay, that's what we mean that by thought and language become increasingly interdependent. Pasalamat ka, Vincent, ne. Diyan na kayo naos. Okay, pota session na kay Kristen, pota yung pati ako pa. Let's move. Complex mental processes emerge out of social activities. And this is true, okay? The way we analyze things, the way we comprehend on things, okay, it's dependent on social activities. Yung natutunan mo, lalo na yung when it comes to life lessons, no? You learn about honesty, you learn about genuine feelings because of social activities. Kasi nakisalamuha ka. Okay, so that's what we mean by that. Complex mental processes emerge out of social activities. Now, when it comes to classroom application, ayan, nasa higher, ano na tayo, no? Thinking. Kung baga, nasa college na kayo, higher cognitive skills na ang expected sa inyo. Now, how come that you are now in the position that you already possess this type of skills? It's because of the social activities you've gone through. From home, mula nung bata kayo hanggang sa nag-aral kayo, elementary, high school, yan, you are the product of your own learning. Okay? Next, children appropriate their culture's tool in their own idiosyncratic manner. Because these are children, these are young people, so they will understand things based on the way based on their ability. Eh, ganun naman lahat tayo, even the adults. We will understand things based on our ability. And that's the reason why we have different understanding about things. Kaya nagkakaiba-iba ng opinion. Kaya tinuro mo yung addition, iba-iba yung paraan ng pagkatuto nila. Meron yung natutunan ng sobra-sobra, nakayanan na ang 2 digits, yung isa 1 digit, yung isa, mangilan-ngilan lang yung nakukuha niya. Okay? It's because we understand things, we understand lessons. Kung ako ang bata, itong sasabihin ko sa iyo, we have individual differences, we have different experiences. Okay? So when we socialize, we use these differences, we use these experiences, our own experiences to understand you. Okay? Katulad ngayon, kahit na isa lang yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, I'm using the same lecture to all of you, definitely you will interpret this differently because language is subject to plurality of meaning. Okay, remember that. Language is always subject to plurality of meaning. That's why we interpret it differently. Okay, and we use language when we socialize. Okay, kung body language man yan, gesture or verbal language. Children can accomplish more difficult tasks if they are assisted by people more advanced and competent than they are. Ay, totoo. This is very true. Kaya kapag teacher ka, ikaw yon. Ikaw dapat yung more advanced and competent. Dahil kung pantay lang kayo ng level, oh my God, anong mangyayari? Walang learning. Do you agree? Apple. Oh, may biglay apple at niya pa mo, sana ang pulutan niya. O nang ikit ka. Inaus ka, baby. Yes,
Sorry
Apple,
po,
do you
sir.
agree that the teacher should be more advanced and more competent in order for learning to take place?